In this video, I'm going to be breaking down all of the different methods I use to access hundreds of thousands of dollars to spend on inventory for my Amazon business. If you're new to the channel, my name's Warner Fields from Fields of Profit. I'm a full-time 7-figure Amazon seller, and I do a business model on Amazon called online arbitrage, which is basically where I buy items from Walmart, Target, stores like that, and flip those items on Amazon. And with that business model, I'm currently doing over $1 million a year in revenue. And when I started, I only had about $1,500 to start my Amazon business. So if you're someone sitting at home right now who wants to start an Amazon business, but you don't have a ton of money, this video should be super useful for you to figure out a ton of ways to acquire more capital to grow your Amazon business. Before we jump into that, if you guys want even more free resources to learn how to sell on Amazon, directly below me is going to be the link to our completely free Discord community with over 29,000 people sharing a ton of free information. Would love to see you in there, but let's go ahead and jump into the video. Alright, so first off, I want to preface this video by saying if you are someone who has $1,000, $2,000, you want to start a business, I would highly discourage you from going out and taking out credit cards and loans and all that kind of stuff, especially since selling on Amazon is very risky. I don't want to encourage any of you guys who are, especially if you're new, to go out and take on debt and then end up losing money on that debt. Do not take out debt if you don't know what you're doing. But with that said, you can start an Amazon business with not a lot of money at all, so use whatever you have available to you. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I only had about $1,500 with which to start my Amazon FBA business, and so knowing that I only had that amount of money, I started out by selling used books on Amazon. This is something that a lot of people want to skip over. I know a lot of you guys at home want to skip over the part where you have to work hard and not have that much money, and you want to go straight into sending everything to a prep center, spending $100,000 a month, all that kind of stuff. But it's taken me years to level up my business to the point where I'm at now to be able to do all that kind of stuff. So if you're sitting at home, you don't have a ton of money to get started, just get going. You're not going to be able to build an empire overnight, but you're going to build your business way faster than if you'd never even taken action. So the first strategy that I've used a ton to acquire more capital for my business is simply by leveraging credit cards, and specifically the period on which where you can spend the money on the credit card and then pay it back later. This is something that is risky, and I really wouldn't recommend spending on your credit card over what you have backed up in your bank account. This is something that I'm pretty much still doing to this day. I don't really spend over what's in my bank account. That's just my own personal risk tolerances. I do not want to end up owing money, end up in a hole, end up bankrupt because I went a little too hard on my Amazon business. But credit cards will allow you to have 30 days, sometimes 60 days if you're using a card like the Amex Plum, and during that period you can make a lot of sales, especially during that 60-day period. If you have an Amex Plum card, you can actually sell the item, get your money back, and then pay off the credit card. Again, I wouldn't recommend counting on that, but it is an awesome way to offset the fact that Amazon is going to keep some of your money after you sell your items for 2 weeks, and sometimes they'll even keep your money longer than that. If you're a brand new seller, you're going to get paid every 2 weeks. So worst case scenario, you could have your money tied up for almost a month, which is where credit cards become extremely important, because instead of waiting for that money to get unlocked, instead you can just go out and leverage your credit card with that money that you already have. And on top of that, using a credit card is an awesome way to manufacture margin in your business. And what I mean by that is when you're buying an item to sell on Amazon, let's say you're buying it for $10, you're going to sell it for $20, you're going to make 35% ROI, you're going to make $3.50, something like that. But when you're doing calculations like that, you can consider a lot of other things like cash back, like coupons, all that kind of stuff is going to help you manufacture margin in your business. And that's the type of stuff that's really going to help you elevate your business if you're able to manufacture your margin in a way that others aren't able to figure out. So specifically for credit cards, there's a lot of websites that are going to add their own custom credit card. They're going to be trying to upsell you on it, all that kind of stuff. But if that's a website that you're buying inventory from consistently, a lot of times those credit cards are going to be giving you 3, 4, 5% cash back, which can make a huge difference when you're buying your inventory. If you know that every time you buy something, you're just immediately going to get 5% of that back, that can help you manufacture a ton of margin in your business. And on top of it being a great way to grow the capital that's available to you, adding on that credit card cash back is another great way to add a ton of extra money to your business. And I've been using a lot of those credit card points and miles and stuff to pay for vacations and flights and all that kind of stuff. And I really haven't paid cash for any of that kind of stuff in years because of the points that I've been able to rack up through my Amazon business. And I also do specifically recommend a couple of credit cards for you guys out there. Same cards I've used and have had a lot of success with. And if you are interested in checking out any of these cards, there's going to be some links down below for these, give you some extra points, help me out, all that kind of stuff. But the first card that I would recommend to you is the American Express Business Blue. This is if your business is brand new, you have a formal business structure, but you don't really have any business credit. The Amex Business Blue is a great card to get for your first business card because they're pretty much going to approve anyone. But the downside to having that card is that it does have a hard cap. I think when I got my Amex Business Blue, my hard cap was somewhere around $11,000 or $12,000, which at the time wasn't a ton of money for me. But adding on a ton of cards like that, adding on a bunch of different credit cards, increasing the amount of capital you have available to you is going to be massive. So don't ignore a card like that just because it does have a hard limit. But on the flip side of that, if you are someone, you go in there, you like your Amex card, I like the Amex card, I like the Amex experience, I do recommend to go ahead and upgrade upgrade to the Amex Gold. If you are spending a pretty considerable amount, you could check out the Amex Platinum as well. But I put a ton of spend on the Amex Business Gold. At one point, I've had over $200,000 on my Amex Business Gold because that card has no hard limit in terms of what you're able to put on that card. With the Business Blue, you're going to be capped. I was capped at $11,000 or $12,000. With the Amex Business Gold, there's theoretically no limit on the card. Every now and then you'll spend a lot of money and they'll call you and they'll soft freeze your card. They'll say, hey, what's going on? But every time in the past, if I've had the money to back it up, all I've had to do is go ahead and upload a bank statement with the money showing that I can pay off the credit card. And that has usually unfrozen my card and allowed me to spend even more money. So that's been an awesome way for me to unlock a card where I can put a ton of spend on it, rack up a ton of points, all that kind of stuff. And having a no limit card is super, super important. And I know a lot of you guys don't have a formal business structure. I definitely didn't for the first little bit. I was putting a lot of spending on personal cards, which I wouldn't recommend if you're doing something like buying a house or a car anytime soon. I know my credit definitely took a dive when I was putting a bunch of inventory on my personal credit, but for me at the time it was okay. And when I was doing that, I was putting a lot of that spend on a Chase Saphire Preferred card. I really like using that card because it has a pretty good cashback system and the sign-on bonuses are really, really good. I think right now you get about $600 for free after meeting the spend goal. When I signed up for it, it was like $1,000 for free for meeting the spend goal, and the spend goal is really not too high. And I used a ton of the points on that credit card to go visit my girlfriend when we were long distance. So that was really awesome to not have to worry about that. My reselling business was paying for me to go visit my girlfriend. That was a really nice perk. So if you've been looking for a good personal card, again, there is a link down below. It's a referral link. It hooks us both up with some extra points if you want to go ahead and check that out. But with that said, I want to go ahead and talk about the next couple methods that you can use to fundraise for your Amazon business. The next thing you can do, and it's definitely a little bit more risky, and I really wouldn't recommend this. Typically, I say if you haven't been selling on Amazon for at least a year, do not do this. But the next thing you could do is go ahead and take out a loan. And obviously this is much riskier because it's borrowing money that you don't have to go spend it on inventory. But if you're able to do it correctly and you really, really know what you're doing, it's a really powerful thing because you can go out and borrow money at 7, 8, 9, 10%. And then you can turn around and use those funds to buy products that are going to generate 35%, 60%, 80%. And not only that, but that interest rate they're charging you is yearly. And you're able to generate those kind of returns pretty much every month or every other month, depending on how fast your cash flow cycle is. So those loans can be a really great way to grow your business. Again, if you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing yet, do not take out loans. But this is something that I've done in my business where I've actually gone ahead and taken out a line of credit through Amazon. I got it offered through my Amazon seller account. And I took a line of credit through Marcus, Goldman Sachs, whatever it's called. I ended up with a $44,000 line of credit. I haven't needed to pull on it a ton yet, but I'm really excited to have access to that come Q4. And there's going to be a massive amount of opportunity come Black Friday when there's going to be a ton of opportunity. And I'll be able to deploy hundreds of thousands of dollars in a week or two. But the way that those loans work is honestly really cool because they're going to go ahead and offer you loan amounts based on the amount of sales you're having, your sales history, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of times those loan offers that you're going to get from them are going to be way higher than a traditional bank because they can really get into the back end and see what you got going on, see what kind of sales you're putting up, to the point where I currently have like $120,000 loan offer hanging on my account from Amazon. And if you already knew about those Amazon loans and you're just curious how you can get one for yourself, a lot of times it's just going to be kind of random. I know some people have gotten loan offers as early as a couple months into their journey. Others I've seen sell literally 7 figures before they get a loan offer. So it can be kind of random, but when it does show up, it'll show up in your Amazon Seller Central next to all the tiles where you're seeing your orders and your buyer messages and all that kind of stuff. So keep your eyes peeled for those loan offers if that's something you've been thinking about. The last method that I've used personally for my own Amazon business is raising money from friends and family. I would call this one even riskier than getting a traditional bank loan because at the end of the day, losing money from Goldman Sachs is going to affect your personal life probably a lot less than losing your mom or your dad's money. So again, please know what you're doing if you're going to take money from friends and family. But the way that I did this is I offered them a pretty good interest rate. I only took their money for a couple months. I borrowed it in November and paid them back in February. I was using it for Q4 inventory last year, and I was able to pull together about $30,000 to $40,000 from family. When I did that, I would recommend giving them some kind of a contract just so you have something in paper, help them feel a little bit better about it. Write down the interest rates, all that kind of stuff. What happens if you're not able to pay them back? Make sure you have all that kind of stuff in writing because you definitely don't want to end up in a hairy situation when you're dealing with friends and family, especially with money. If Amazon loans or traditional bank loans are available to you, I would probably do that before you borrow money from friends and family. Again, I would much rather lose Amazon's money than my dad's money, and only borrow money from friends and family if you have a very specific plan of action for what you're going to buy with it, how long it's going to take to sell, if you're going to have time to reinvest it, and then how easy it's going to be to give them their money back. But those are the 3 biggest methods that allow me to access hundreds of thousands of dollars in inventory for my Amazon business. If you did get value out of this video, please add some value back to my business and hit that subscribe button down below. Feel free to drop any questions, comments, anything like that. Always happy to answer those for you guys. But I really appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you next time.